Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better way to get up in the morning than to get up with Garrett. Garrett is a third-generation success-credentialed real estate entrepreneur who is here to give you tips, tricks, and share stories of success. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Garrett Bedron.
Dougie Bricks.
How are you?
Laying down the concrete there for us today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Good to see you live,
too.
back in person.
I know, it's been a minute.
Studios of Undefeated Media. Feeling good about the COVID numbers. Happy to come back. Right? 6 feet apart. 2 feet. That's fine.
2.5.
And thanks for everyone tuning in today. A little bit later than normal, but we're doing business, right? We're signing up people for some of our hairstylists and success credentialed beauty professionals at our new Ramsey Salons by JC location, which is under construction, and it'll be opening up probably sometime in April. I don't have an exact date, but busy with that. And of course, busy with our favorite Hawthorne, New Jersey project, The Hedges. You've been following along, right, Dougie?
Oh yeah. Looking good.
Looking good. We're
looking
getting there.
Real good.
Can we share kind of a breaking photo that's like one of our?
Do you want to share the end first, or you don't want to show like the progress and then what it's going to look like?
Fine.
Okay.
Let's give everyone a progress update. Right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's cold. It doesn't matter if it's snowing or raining. These guys and girls are out there hustling, working hard. The masons are actually like under like a cover with a little heater under plastic. It's amazing what they're doing. So you can see we're actually on the 4th floor and putting in some of the architectural features on the residential, which is really cool. For those that may not be aware, this is in Hawthorne, New Jersey, really close to where we are right now. And soon we'll get to see that roof deck, which is exciting, right? So we're hoping to have people moving in the summertime. And the self-storage building is really rocking and rolling. That one has a full roof on it. There's things on the roof you could see. Most of the brick is finished around the perimeter, and we have private garages in there as well. So both those are rocking and rolling. We have done some of the foundation work for the fitness building, which is the retail piece, small part, and we're excited about that coming out of the ground for Planet Fitness. So that'll be the next thing that you kind of see some action on. But it's really amazing to watch, like from the thought process of all we went through with the different failures through the years, falling on our face, losing lots of money, getting sued multiple times, and then, getting to the starting line of the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And like I always say, you just keep going. You never stop. You just keep pushing through, and, to really be kind of more than halfway done. And now I can smell it and I can taste it. And so I wanted to share with the audience a special unveiling of our rendering shot of what I call the hero. All right.
So you're going to see it here first.
Never
Get Up with Garrett show.
Never been put out. This is an exclusive. It's dropping live today. Okay.
Wow.
It's an NFT. It's everywhere. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. And let's show that photo. This is what I'd call the hero, the money shot. And I'm just really blown away by how this came out. It's inspiring indoor-outdoor living, which will be something we're going to talk about a lot today on our show with our special guest. You can kind of see some of the furniture out there, some of the grilling stations. You actually have kind of an entrance that opens into the living space. So there'll be some of that indoor-outdoor flow. We're going to put in some heaters under the kind of covered porch part so you can sit outside as it gets colder. And just really inspires somewhere that I would want to live, and I'd be happy to call this my home. You have a mixture of brick, hardy plank, obviously some really well-insulated windows. There's a black frame around there, kind of making it kind of a little more industrial chic. We even put a pop of blue on the aluminum there on the metal roof part, which I think is kind of chic. And then we'll have other photos that kind of come out over the next few weeks where you zoom back and you'll see more landscaping and more activity. But very, very proud of where we are today. And hopefully this is somewhere that someone in the audience may want to call their home. And if you go to hedges@hawthorne.com, you can fill out your information, put down your name, number, and we will save your information as we get closer to getting ready to lease up. We'll get back in touch. So
they're going to fill up quick.
I think so. Quick. There's similar projects that are recently have come online in downtown Ridgewood or are about to come online. And they have filled up beyond, just faster than the developers ever imagined. And so we look at those areas and we say, man, okay, walkable to the train, downtown, some good food, good opportunities. If those are going to fill up in X amount of weeks, ours can be similar. So I kind of look at the market to help me understand that. So
absolutely,
we're thrilled about that. Do you remember a couple weeks ago we talked about this new game that's sweeping the country called Wordle?
Yes.
You know, you go on, you put in your letters. Okay.
Yes.
And have you been doing it and keeping up with it?
I have. So you're not going to believe me, but one of the days I got a first try. And I gave up after that. It was like light or something. It was something easy.
You got a first try.
Yeah. So first try. But like my little cheat code, if you will.
Yes. What do you like to start with?
You're not going to. Yeah. I like to start with like something with like R, E, and A. So like cream, Regal,
cream,
ready.
Okay.
Like things that have R, E, and A.
Why do you do that?
I feel like those are the most popular words, have an E or an A. So once you figure out where those letters go,
gotcha.
Or there's none of those, then you know you're at like Q and U.
So it's funny. I like to try a lot of values also, vowels. But my wife, Jessica, she likes to start with as many consonants as possible because she feels like the vowels are easier and that she can guess the word because she knows what the vowels are. Whereas, is it a P? Is it an M? Is it an L? Is it an S? Right. Yeah. So, I would say consistently I'm getting it somewhere around 4. I've had plenty of days at 3, a lot of days at 5. I would say my average is around 4. But breaking news as of yesterday, the New York Times is buying Wordle.
Wow.
And throwing it into part of their games and crossword business. And undisclosed dollar amount, but they're talking low 7 figures. So you're talking 10 million, somewhere between 1 million and 9999999.
Yeah.
Now, think about this. Okay.
You don't think that's fair?
Well, I don't think it makes any money. I just want to give you the backstory. Wordle was created as a gift from a man to his wife or girlfriend, like as a cute little, Valentine's Day thing, let's say. So, what are you doing for your wife? I mean, you're newly married now. That may be equal to $10 million. Are you starting a business for her? Are you giving her a gift that may actually return money?
I mean, that's what we're working on here at Undefeated Media. But I ain't buying Wordle. We're not at that point. But I mean, they're buying the brand. Now, what I do think Wordle can do to better themselves is make it not just a one day, oh, you got the word within 5 tries, congratulations. Like, all right, if you got it like within 3 tries, 3 days in a row, you get a gold star. Like your stats should accumulate, not just you go on the site, you do it once, and
maybe those gold stars, are worth $1 off a Pepsi or something, or a big company comes with it, and now it's reward driven. But look, I think it's a no brainer for a company like the New York Times, who obviously has kind of this legendary crossword puzzle and kind of games division, to throw $10 million on something, which obviously is a lot of money to you, me, and the audience in terms of pocket change, not a lot of money in terms of a business, right? To get in like that millions of people are now kind of obsessed with every day and sharing and talking about it. So I think that was kind of cool. That's something we discovered recently. It's relatively new, and poof, right there. 10 million.
Because you told everybody.
Somewhere between
you
1
put
and
everybody
10.
onto the trend.
Well, the check's in the mail, like they say, right? So we are really, really lucky today. I want to switch gears and I want to get into our guest host, or guest, just guest, I guess we'd say, on the show today. Good friend of ours, good friend of the show, longtime family friend, and actually had me as one of his first guests on his podcast, which is part of the kind of the sister family here at Undefeated Media, right? I want to welcome to the show Mr. Jeffrey Krentzman from the company The Barbecue Cleaner, and from his very own, very successful podcast that we look up to and admire and hope to grow into one day, Mind Your Pucking Business. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Garrett. It's good to be here. I'm a big fan of Get Up with Garrett, as you know. I was telling you before I listen to it in my car every Thursday, usually while I'm out and about between clients. So I'm a big fan, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, bud.
Now, did you put somebody else in your car today? Because I'm still kind of new growing the audience here. So the fact that one of my only 10 or 20 listeners is now in the studio.
You got way more than that.
You need to replace, maybe your mom or your dad could take your spot as key listener and key commenter.
Yeah. Well, no, I think, for Mind Your Pucking Business, and we were talking about this before we went live, it definitely took some time. I think you're on the right step. But when we talked about some other platforms, maybe that Get Up with Garrett can go on, and it's really about exposure, right? The more exposure you have, the more listeners you're going to have. So
incredible.
Which brings us back to Wordle. It's all about
Yeah.
exposure. So they bought that. Now they have exposure to millions of people who are playing that game every day. They could put New York Times at the top. They can put,
Of course,
buying the ad space. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Good
Jeff,
point.
let's jump into the business side here, because I've always been fascinated by your business. I'm also in the franchise business with Salons by JC, and so you own a franchise called the Barbecue Cleaner. And so I want to let you really describe and tell the audience what's the history here, what's kind of the brief bio of how'd you get started with the business. And what I always say is, Jeff, what's the bread and butter? What is it that you're doing here?
Sure. So, it's a weird story. I mean, I went to college to be a communications major at Boston University. Certainly, it's not what I majored in was not what I ended up doing. I left college. I graduated in 2002. Similar to you, right? You were what, 2001?
I think I was 02.
You were 02, right? You're my year. Yeah. And back then, as you remember, with it just being 9/11, the job market was non-existent, particularly in Boston and New York. And I was up at school at Boston. So my plan was originally to stay in Boston. But my lease on my apartment ran up on August 31st. Couldn't get a job in time, as none of my friends could. So I moved back home. Got a job with a marketing company in Mahwah, not far from where we're taping this today. And it was brutal. I left it, wanted to do my own thing. I started this and really did it locally, cleaning grills here in Bergen County for 4 years. And in those 4 years, we were getting phone calls a lot. I mean, emails weren't big back then. You have to remember, 2005 is a different time.
Yeah.
So when I say phone calls, it really was phone calls. We would get phone calls to say, hey, you know what? I saw what you're doing there. I live in Dallas. I live in Phoenix or whatever. How do I do what you're doing? And we turned them down and said, look, I don't feel comfortable right now that we're at a point that we understood what got this to work. But once we get there, and if we get there, we'll open it up to people in other markets. In 2009, we kind of felt pretty confident, comfortable that we knew what exactly step by step we did, that someone in another market could replicate that success if we were helping them. And so in 2009 was really when the Barbecue Cleaner was formed. And it's sold as a business opportunity. It's a little bit different than a traditional franchise, is that in that a buyer, isn't paying us ongoing fees. So it's a big selling point that they're keeping 100% of what they make. We give them all the ongoing support. We give them everything they need to get started, from the tangible things like the equipment itself, but also the marketing stuff, advertising, sales material. So we really give you everything. We call it a business in a box, if you will. Very turnkey is a word we like to
Heard
use.
that before.
Is it like the word we use around here? And so we've had a lot of success. We just had our 263rd location open up 3 weeks ago, right outside of Orlando. So yeah, I mean, we've been very, very fortunate with success.
Okay. So, but at the base of it, it's somebody going out and cleaning barbecues.
Right. So it's a niche business, right?
Okay.
So if you think about it, and I know, your backyard, so you're a good example of this. A lot of people have built-in outdoor kitchens,
yes,
right? So you have, let's say, $4,000 or $5,000 invested in your grill or outdoor kitchen area.
My guy texted me, says, I got to call him. I don't know, it's been like months since my grill's on order. So, I'm not very happy about not using my kitchen.
Got it.
But we're getting there.
You're getting there.
Okay.
And you know who will take care of you as always.
Okay.
But that's besides the point. So, all these people now that have $4,000 or $5,000 outdoor grills built into stone and padded in concrete, it's not the sort of thing that you're going to throw away every year.
Correct.
And also, they're not going to spend 7 hours on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning cleaning it. So similar to snowplow services, landscaping, these are all stuff that someone can do themselves, but they're happy to pay someone else to do it. So our locations and our operators reap that reward, and they target market that in their individual area. And that's exactly what they do. Like you said, they're going out and they're cleaning grills. But there's a lot of residual business here. Is once you do it once, the customer will use you over and over again. Here in Bergen County, I haven't run a single ad since 2008.
Really?
We were on our honeymoon.
You're kidding.
I actually promised Jess, it's the weirdest story how this happened. Jess and I went to Hawaii when we got married. And I promised her that I wouldn't be on the phone returning phone calls all those 2 weeks. So I called the newspaper we were advertising at the time, and I shut it off for 2 weeks.
Huh.
But the phone still kept going.
Wow. And
that was the the light bulb went off and said, wait a second, why am I spending money on advertising if it's running itself? And that was literally now 14 years ago.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Dougie, have you ever seen this man in action cleaning grills? I mean, he gets down and dirty.
Some footage.
He gets down and dirty, right?
I've seen some
We're
footage,
talking
yes.
full gloves and suit, and
Yeah. We're good. You know what? I'll say this, and I don't say this arrogantly.
Yes.
We're good at what we do. The system that we use has been around the world since 1994. It comes out of the United Kingdom. It's been used in 9 different countries, 3 different continents. So it's really good. I mean, we are very good at what we do. It's also very efficient. So from a business part of it, you're getting paid here by the job, not by the hour. So you've got to make sure that the client's happy, but you also can't be there 8 hours. You're never going to make.
No, I was going to say 8 hours sound. I mean, this is probably more like a
2-hour job.
2-hour job,
right?
Yeah.
So whatever you're charging, you can be doing 3 or 4 a day, and that's really where it adds up, right?
Absolutely.
That's when you really start to add up some good money in your pocket.
But Jeff, I mean, look, money's great, but there, to me, from my experience meeting with a lot of professionals in the hair and beauty industries, quality of life is what's really important. Right.
Yeah.
And this is much more than just a financial opportunity. Would you say it's true that a lot of people jump into something with the barbecue cleaner because they want to control their own day, right? They want to take their kids to soccer. They want to take their kids to school. They want to be their own boss, make their own schedule. How much kind of goes into that thought process?
So it's a great question. I literally, it's amazing you just asked this. I had lunch yesterday, and you know me out of the studio, so you know how I am. That I'm a little COVID, centric, whatever. I had a guy yesterday who was insistent on taking me to lunch. One of my operators.
Yep.
So we went yesterday, actually, to your spot, Houston's.
Oh, wow.
You like Houston's? I went Houston's.
That's a fancy lunch, Jeff.
I
don't think I can afford to go to Houston's as often as you go to lunch.
So, well, again, this was my first lunch.
Place.
This was my first lunch out in 2 years.
That's a special lunch.
He literally took me out yesterday as a thank you because he got started 10 months ago, and he said that he literally told me this at lunch 20 hours ago, that he's a different person. His quality of life is so different with his kids. He's got 2 young kids. He's home with them a couple days a week. He sets a schedule around them. So yes, quality of life is a big thing for me. I have the ability to set my own schedule. So I'm every Friday. If you need me at Friday at 12 o'clock, you'll never get me. And the reason being is I'm chairing the PTA lunch in my kids' cafeteria.
He's giving out the pizza.
I'm giving out the food. So quality of life is a huge thing for me personally. I've always said that aside from the money, it's more about the quality of life and the freedom that you have than being behind a desk, sitting there 8 hours a day being told what to do, which was what that first job I had out of college was, that I couldn't stand.
Yeah.
Now with kids, I couldn't imagine what that would be like if I wasn't around.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, so I'm envisioning, just kind of to paint the picture for the audience. So you're going to buy some type of, territory, or you're going to get involved in obviously where you live. This is not necessarily something that you're doing 8 states away, right? This is kind of an owner-operator type.
Most of it is, although you'd be surprised. We do have a couple multi-unit locations. Like we have a guy actually in Southern New Jersey who has a unit in Southern New Jersey. He was our second location, actually, of all of them. And he also now has 3 locations in Naples, Florida.
Oh, really?
That he hires people. He has crews down there that he runs. So what he does in his case, in the spring and summer months, he's up here in Cherry Hill, which is where he's outside of Philadelphia.
Philly,
yeah. And he runs his own operation, owner-operator. While he is up here, he has the Naples operation runs flawless with his crews. And then in the winter months, he'll go down quite a bit. I think also has to do with the weather.
He probably enjoys that area too. Yeah,
right?
Let's not.
I mean, let's look outside all the white stuff on the ground. Would you rather see that right now or palm trees? So he'll go down there. So for the majority of it, yes, it's owner-operator. But there are people that have multiple markets. There are people that I can think, like one of our Dallas locations runs 4 different crews every day that are out and about. So there's really a growth potential if you want to turn it into that. And that's, totally up to your choice.
But I mean, look, one thing I want to say to the audience, because I always want everyone to kind of think in this crawl, walk, run. You don't wake up one day and buy 5 locations from Jeff and become the barbecue cleaner in every market in America. You start with 1, you get your hands dirty, right? You learn the business from the ground up. You crawl, you walk, you run. Right. So be careful. Don't think you're buying the Mercedes day one here. Right. It's a great opportunity, but you got to take your time. You got to do your homework, and you want to perfect anything you do before you extend yourself. And now you're hiring another person and you're in charge of their livelihood. So that's important. I want to make sure people understand that.
And it's a great point, because even when I look across all the locations, and if I had to pick out the most successful of them all, they all start in the crawling phase. Right. It's none of these people got started on Tuesday and by Friday they had multiple units, right? It's a one-step thing. I tell people all the time in the sales process, and people think I'm nuts, but I try to do things honestly. I say, look, you can think about the 3 or 4 units, and that's great, but you've got to get the first one right, and do it right if you're ever going to get there.
Absolutely. And that concerns me about the franchise industry in a whole, because I think sometimes, and this is not obviously your guys, but there's lots of these companies out there that are packaging a franchise and selling it to someone with this dream of, you're going to own 10, you're going to own 20. Well, guess what? You never get there if that's what your kind of focus is. We always talk here on the Get Up with Garrett show. You're going from A to B, and then from B to C, from C to D. Yeah, you are going to get from A to Z, and I want you to have that big, awesome, kind of audacious goal, that big vision also. But don't take your eye off the fundamentals. You can't, or else you're going to wake up and your absentee business is going to give you an absentee checkbook. So super important.
It's a great point, and we give people a step-by-step approach from A to B, B to C, exactly like you said.
So that's part of what they're buying is kind of a handbook. So let's talk about, and I don't know how comfortable you are talking about ranges of prices, but what does something like this cost for someone to get into?
If they're from the franchise end of it, it's about $40,000. Okay. So the way that I always tell people is whether you're looking at a barbecue cleaning business or an ice cream truck, or let's say I'll use an example you and I looked at years ago, which actually came up on my Dropbox here, the Espresso Delight thing. We're talking about that?
The coffee
thing. Whatever business you're looking at, it's all about ROI, right? It's about return on investment. So if the barbecue cleaner is going to cost you $40,000 to get started,
okay,
you then take that number very simply and you say, all right, what am I going to charge in my market per grill, right? And I'm going to divide that number by 40,000 by what I'm charging, and then you have a pretty good understanding at least of how many grills do I need to do to break even? And you're going to be shocked because it's not that much. Again, the guy that I had lunch with yesterday, and I'm careful to make earnings claims, so I'm not going to tell you how much he makes, but you would fall over what he did in 10 months. Absolutely. He turned a profit in 2 months, which in a business world, is not unheard of. I mean,
I would say, from my experience, and again, for those that are still new to the program, our family owns and operates about 20 different shopping centers and apartment complex. We're in self-storage. So we're getting to meet in multiple states, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of companies, a lot of operators. And so the number I'll quote to you is kind of on average, it takes about 2 to 3 years to really replace that income and be profitable, right? With some type of startup type business. Now, Jeff has to be very careful because he's somewhat of a franchise. He can only say certain things, so you may hear him use ranges or be careful about that. But I can share with you, me as a franchisee, things that I'm comfortable sharing. It takes time. We don't open our salons by JC's and make money right out of the gate. It definitely takes some time. But with the 40K, Jeff, is there something tangible that they're getting? Is it a trailer? There's no storefront here, right?
Right. And that's a huge thing because there's no retail space, right? Okay. So you're not paying, you're working out of your house.
So let's break down actually what you're getting.
Sure. So there is the equipment we talked about that comes from the UK. That is in a trailer model.
It's a trailer. Okay.
It's a trailer. So the thought behind the trailer was this, actually, when it got started in 2009, and it still kind of remains the thought today. Taking your kids to soccer was the example you used. I'm a soccer dad on the weekend. I'm a hockey dad, whatever. I'm going spot to spot. At the end of the week, I take the trailer off my car and I just detach it and I'm back to soccer dad, hockey dad, whatever.
So same car is fine.
Right. I don't have to, and I also don't need to, from a point of entry investment perspective, I don't need to go out and buy a Ford Windstar or whatever.
No.
Whatever I'm driving now, I put a $600 hitch on if I don't have one, and that's my work vehicle. So you get all the equipment. And the equipment I say is, and I say this all the time, people, is important because it's a one-man job. So you're not paying a second person labor. Right. That's huge, right? So you're keeping that. And if you're an owner operator, the labor is you.
It's you.
Right? It's you most of the time, unless you're hiring someone. So there's that. There's the manual, which again, it's over 200 pages long. It's like the Bible of how to do this.
Doug, this is the secret Coca-Cola recipe.
Yeah,
it is.
Right? I hope you guys are taking notes at home.
It is
200 pages. Oh my goodness.
Although this guy over here, if it was a kombucha, that drink that he likes over there, he would buy the manual in a heartbeat for that recipe. But no, it's everything.
Legitimate business manual.
Yeah,
right.
It is. And so people use the blueprint of the manual really, and let that kind of guide them to success. They also have, and people treat this different. I never have two people that are alike, but the ongoing support. We give them as much ongoing support as they need. So some people, I'd say the vast majority, never use the ongoing support. The manual is so thorough, the training, when I go out and travel to them, they don't need help beyond that. But I think it's a good comfort and safety net for a lot of people because this is their first business to know we're not leaving you out here in the dark. So whatever you need.
Jeff, give me an example of a situation where you've had to help someone service, or they got in after a few months and were really confused about something, or how'd you fix that?
Sure. You know what? Sometimes questions can be a mechanical thing. Hey, I saw this on a grill today. Wasn't sure what to do. What would you do? Or I've had a couple people say, look, marketing, I want to get your advice. I'm thinking of doing this. I'm thinking of, upping my SEO efforts, putting more money into that.
Right.
So the support questions can really vary on what the topic is. But I mean, I'm pretty comfortable now that we've done this 14 or 13 years,
Right.
that whatever questions you're going to give us, we've probably
You've seen
heard
them a
before.
little
I've
bit.
seen them
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
It's very rare here that we get something we haven't seen.
I feel the same way. You know, when I meet with salon professionals, there's obviously a little bit of this kind of anxiety and nervousness about stepping out and going on your own business. And some of the questions really center around that fear. And so we try to get ahead of the game and, you know, help them with their state board package. We have a notary at our office. We have a prepaid FedEx machine. And so they come down, they sit with us, and we kind of hold their hand, go through each step by step. So when they leave my office, they've done 90% of the legwork, and they can take a deep breath and feel better about it. And you know, there's sometimes that I am stumped on something, and we research it and get back, and it's always a learning experience. So that service is included in the 40K for X amount of years. They can call you whenever they need you. Or
and even some of, like, you know, our oldest locations still have questions. I mean, I've had you know, our first location ever, which opened in June of 2009 in Phoenix. They'll still call with questions. I mean, they don't really need help at all. They're it's an autopilot now out there, but the support is there forever. Look, we want to make you successful. We're going to do everything we can on our end. I try to treat everyone that gets started from the mindset this is the first business they've ever done. So I need to do a lot of hand holding. I hate that word, but it gets the point across.
But it's true.
Yeah. I try to help them in any way I can.
It's so interesting.
So I want to add 90% of all businesses fail within the first like 3 years.
Right.
And Jeff's got guys making profits in 2 months.
2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months.
Absolutely.
So it's a proven recipe that, you know, I know we can't like, I don't want to make claims, or I don't know what the rules are, but like he's got guys making profits in 2 years, and 90% of businesses fail. So if you enjoy barbecuing and
we know what I always thought was interesting about it is that, you know, there's a huge risk in renting a retail location. And it's funny because I know retail, right? That's the family.
It's your middle name.
There you go. So, you know, our family, before we got into shopping centers, ran a very large retail office products company and distribution company. And we had 5 or 6 retail stores, which is kind of why we started buying shopping centers, right? We knew retailers. We understood their language. But when someone approaches me and wants to take over a store, it's a tremendous thing, right? You've got the big lease, right, which could be a 5 or 10 year lease with a personal guarantee, meaning like you're on the line, man. You're up at night wondering, how do you make that payment? Then you have the question of the, you know, a roof leak, or the air conditioning breaks, or, you know, do you have plate glass insurance, and what's it going to be cost to move that wall? And by the way, I didn't know there was some crazy plumbing thing hidden in that wall, and that's another $5,000 that I didn't know about. And by the way, the taxes went up, and here's my portion of the tax bill. So there's a million things that are complicated in having a storefront, and that doesn't even take into account how long it takes in some of these towns to get permits, plans, approvals, etc. Right? I mean, we all know that firsthand. But with your business, it seems like somebody could get open pretty quickly, and it's somewhat risk-free. I mean, obviously the 40,000 is kind of a, you know, decent sized number for someone if they've saved up, they have that capital. But you're not like risking your house. You're not signing a 10-year lease. Right. There's no major liability. And if somebody got started and, you know, it didn't hit every top number they thought, they could kind of work on it a little bit. It's not like it's not going to go anywhere, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think the risk in this business, I think, is a lot less than other businesses. And a lot of it is for the exact reason you said, there's no retail, right? So you're not signing a long-term lease. But, you know, the risk is really the money you're going to put in. I mean, certainly I have to look at that as a risk. But again, when you look at the market demand and how people go crazy for this, I mean, again, part of what we're giving them is the marketing material. So we're showing you how to get the business. So a lot of the risk is not there. And then, look, it's very rare, but if you were to decide, hey, it's not for me, I want to resell this, you can also resell it. There's not restrictions on that. You can get the money back that way. So it is definitely less risk in this business with a very, very high reward.
But also what I think is neat about it is, like, you could just do it on the weekends too. I mean, it doesn't have to be your full-time gig, right? This could be could we call it a side hustle?
Yeah,
is that possible?
We have actually, I would say, and I wouldn't quote me on this, but I'm pretty confident that the most popular model that people use when they started is they keep their full-time job.
Okay.
They do this on the side. And then once they get to the point where they say, look, this is so busy right now, I either got to leave my full-time job or hire someone, and they got to cross that bridge. They'll then do that and leave the full-time job. But yeah, and that's another way to minimize the risk, right? You still have your salary or whatever you're making coming in.
Absolutely. And that's something that I think that's super important when you're talking about a side hustle and trying something new. You do not give up your full-time revenue. You keep that there. That pays your bills. That takes care of your house, your food, your family. And then this side hustle is kind of for the luxuries, is for the other stuff. And then you'll know that tipping point where those dollars are replacing, and you're missing out on the opportunities. I think too many people do make that mistake, Jeff. They give up the golden goose too quick.
Yeah.
And maybe it has, look, it's not at a fault. They're excited about it. They're trying to go all in. But I don't think that's the right play. I think you want to replace your income by maybe 10, 15%. You want to make sure you're covering your things you don't think about. Like a startup isn't going to cover your insurance, right? It's not going to cover your 401k and put money away for charity and for college. So, until you're doing all of that, which is why you probably need more like 15%, 20% over your income before you walk away. So it's good to hear that you can do it as, I don't want to say absentee or semi-absentee, but you can kind of do it on the side. And if it ends up being that it does replace your income, that's great. And if not, it's okay to be on the side, right? Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with side hustle and making some money.
What do you think about that, Dougie? Would that
Sounds
something
great.
you could do on the side?
Especially if you enjoy the outdoors
Yeah.
and that barbecue aspect of life. Like
Sure.
you should enjoy and have a passion for what you do. So if you do enjoy football and barbecues and cooking, like this is a no-brainer.
And also a lot of people will tell you, and I would agree, because again, I still do this in Bergen County.
Yeah, you do.
I still do this. I think it's nice to every day not be sitting at my desk.
Sure.
And I appreciate those days sometimes.
Yep.
But I also think the months of the year that I'm out doing this, first off, I know where every Dunkin' Donuts is in Bergen County.
Yes.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to your wife who wrote in asking me where my iced tea is. So I will tell her that I already finished it, Jessica. Thanks for.
I've got your Dunkin' coffee.
He's got it there. But I think, being out and about, being outside in the spring and summer, not being inside, as you were saying, Doug, I think it's just another benefit of the business. It's kind of a nice perk.
Now, do you have a favorite grill model that you recommend, or are you lined up with any of the big brands, or any suggestions you can give to the audience?
So, I don't try to know them all, but I do, being around. Look, people will ask me, I think you may have even asked me sometimes, hey, I'm getting a new grill. What would I get? If it were me, I would get a Weber Summit. A Weber is a very good brand. It's the most popular one out there, but the Summit is their highest model. It's actually what I have at home, and it's also the most popular one that we clean. It's an excellent grill. I mean, for the money, it's phenomenal. So I recommend a Weber Summit. But there's other ones out there. The Lynx, which I think you're getting, is very good.
You don't need to recommend what I'm getting.
No, but I'm saying that's.
I won't be offended. I won't be. I promise you.
I'm saying that would be second on my list.
Well, Weber and Lynx, please send your sponsorship check to Mind Your Fucking Business,
or the barbecue cleaner,
or the barbecue cleaner.
Either one.
It's funny. I happen to think pound for pound, dollar for dollar, Weber really makes a fantastic product. I've had Weber grills for years. They do last.
Mm-hmm.
You can certainly update the flavorizing bars, or the I don't know, what do you call it, the grill.
I didn't even know the flavorizing bars.
There's certain parts you can certainly upgrade, but I would say if you're not doing the fancy built-in thing that Jeff mentioned earlier, there is absolutely nothing wrong with a basic Weber Genesis, Weber Summit. You spend your $700, $800, it's going to last you. Then there's a whole nother category of these expensive ones, which we'll skip because I don't know if mine's ever coming. But go ahead, sorry.
But no, you're right with the Weber. Their parts when you replace the flavorizer bars are so cheap, right?
Yeah,
so for you, right, it's not like you're going to get your BMW dealer, get your oil change, and all of a sudden you're hit with a $700 bill. You can replace parts on a Weber for $70 every 5 years. I mean, it's not difficult.
Absolutely. Let's talk about kind of ongoing supplies and royalty. You kind of went a different direction with this, right? Like, if I understand it, and tell me if I'm wrong, most of the revenue comes from you're selling the location, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then is there something that you sell to the operators? Because I don't think there is a royalty with your business.
Right.
It's a little different.
There is no royalty. So that is the number one selling point. That's the number one draw for people, right? So if they go out and they do $1,500 today cleaning grills, they keep the $1,500. There's not a 7% of that going back to us. However, though, to your question, they do buy the ongoing cleaning supplies from us. They're proprietary, and they work really only with the system that they have.
Got it.
But we do keep them very affordable. Their cost on a per clean basis is $5 in supplies. That's it.
Oh, okay.
So it's nothing. One of the things that I am most proud of with this business, that if you were our first location in Phoenix in 2009 and you ordered supplies in 2009, the price that you paid for the supplies then are the exact same today.
You got to be kidding me.
I've kept them the same.
How could you do that with inflation?
It hasn't been easy, but they are literally
That's incredible.
The exact same price you would have paid in 2009.
That's incredible, Jeff.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's someone that really cares about his
right. I want to
people
make sure that,
and it's smart because, I mean, for me, like, look, I'm sure in a lot of businesses, the biggest source of revenue could come from referrals, right? I mean, a happy customer at the barbecue cleaner is easily going to tell 5-10 people. I mean, I've sent tons of people to you because I'm happy with your business. I always say, ask him for the special Get Up with Garrett price, and he calls me, so thanks a lot. But, you want to make your people happy. I always found in business, the small details make the big difference, right? The little things you can do that aren't the end of the world make a huge impact. But tell me, because I don't think we've ever talked about this, why did you go that route? Because for the audience, most franchises have some type of royalty. I pay a royalty to Salons by JC, McDonald's, every major franchise, almost every, really pays a royalty. That's kind of the heart of the franchise business, to be honest with you, is how they make that money. So what was the thought process? Help me understand that.
The main reason was this: if we were sitting here in our corporate headquarters in Hackensack, New Jersey, and we had, we were going to be collecting 7% of the net sales of what the guy in San Diego was doing today, we don't have a way to track what he's doing. I mean, we have no idea. We could put our trust in people, which maybe would be the right move, maybe it wouldn't, depending on the person. So we kind of looked at it and said, if we capture it more in an upfront fee up top, it will allow people in the end more success because they're keeping what they make.
No ceiling.
There's there's no ceiling. Now, look, there are certain, I get asked it a lot. Well, why don't you put in a 7% royalty? It would be better for you. Of course it would. It would be better for me, right? I mean, we'd have more money coming in, but we do it more like, up front, and then you run with it. I mean, the ceiling is yours to decide where that ceiling is.
Absolutely. Let's talk about marketing. I don't want you to dive into kind of what are the secret sauce and how you're finding the end customer, because that's part of what people are paying for. But how are you finding the franchisees?
So, Lee, you know what? The hardest part of my job is out of everything that I do, whether it's the local business or whether it's the franchise business opportunity side, the hardest part of the struggle that I have still to this day is lead generation.
Okay.
Is determining lead generation. There's a lot of options. Here's the thing, Garrett. There's a lot of options out there. Options don't mean that they work well. First off, they have franchise portals, which, look, if you sign on with a franchise portal, I'll give you an example, franchisedirect.com, franchisegator.com,
yes,
they will get you leads because you're paying them, you're paying them $40 a lead. Guess what? They're going to get you leads. The problem is they can give you the quantity. They can't give you quality.
Sure. They don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you come in as a lead to me and you have no money to spend, it's useless.
Not a lead.
It's not a lead.
It's really not a lead. Yeah.
So, franchise portals are one way. I'm a big proponent of internet marketing, SEO, social media,
so Google, Facebook ads,
PPC, stuff like that. That works as well, but it is really the hardest part of my job is always lead generation.
Now, I remember a couple years ago there may have been a marketing video that you had made.
Yeah, so let me throw this out. So on our website, let me give you the backstory on it, how you came into this.
Sure.
So in the fall of 2017, I decided we were going to change our website. We had the same website for 7 years, and it wasn't a thing where it was broken or anything. I just figured we could do a better thing.
Little refresh.
Yeah, refresh. And one of the things we decided to do was film some of our customers who use the service to kind of give it a little more of a lively, put a face to the name kind of thing. So I don't know if we have it queued up. I'm gonna roll. Well, before we roll it, let me preface. We're gonna show a portion of it that Garrett's in, but this was a 3.5-minute video, and I have to give Garrett credit because we taped this at his house on a Saturday morning, and you'll see there's multiple people in the video. Garrett ran through this thing like a professional. It was one take, and it was done. That when we left to go to the next location, we ended up being an hour and a half early because we figured we would have more, to reshoot. But Garrett was like, one stop. So why don't you roll it if you can?
Yep.
And you will see Garrett in action.
Let's check the audio. Make sure the audience can hear it and see it.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I hear something.
Oh. We're still jamming out to your music over here. We gotta turn that on. There we go.
There's a lot going on here at Undisputed Media.
So that's why we originally called the barbecue cleaner.
I'm very into healthy eating and healthy lifestyle now, and with 2 young kids, it's super important that we practice that in the home. So I use the grill cleaning company to make sure that my grill is kept up in the best shape and it's healthy. There's no carcinogens. It's something that the kids are going to enjoy. Also going to protect my investment long term because I don't want to have to buy a new grill every year.
This past summer, we put in an outdoor kitchen with a
There you go.
grill that we love. It's not
There he
something we
is.
want
Look at
to
him go. Look at him go.
year in and year out.
Yeah, he did. Again, Garrett did a really, really good job of that. But that video we use that really more for the end users of people who want to get their grill clean.
Sure.
To kind of explain to them some of the things you said in the video, right? It's removing the harmful carcinogens. You don't want to feed your daughters a burger that's got carcinogens all over it from the salmon you made last summer because you didn't clean the grill.
That's very true. And
You know?
I have a tough time, Dougie, with that word. Carcinogens, is that the word?
You got it.
Carcinogenics?
Just don't ask him to say it 5 times fast.
Ryan Bergman from Broker Bergs, if he's watching, I know he gets confused with his words too, and his addresses of his multi-million-dollar houses that he sells through Bergman County. But I cannot say carcinogen. I mean, it's a tough word, but I got it on one take.
You did. He got it on one take. So there's that. It's the removal of grease from these grills to remove grease fires. Grease fires are the number one cause of fires in a grill. So if you take away the grease, you're going to take away the fire risk with that. And then, like with the grill you're getting, right? It's an investment. If you're getting a $6,000 grill, so getting it clean protects the investment. You know,
absolutely. That is definitely not the price of what I paid. But I just want to know what's the return on the investment of this marketing video, Jeff? Is this video still making you money? Because my royalty checks have kind of dried up.
It's still. If you go to the website, it is still
there.
It is still on the website, and as you probably know, because you're a smart guy. There are Google Analytics that can track, how often the videos are played and stuff. It's still getting played a lot. I think, look, if you go back, Dougie Bricks, to the video, I was careful on that.
It depends on what day it is.
It is. I did. I did it right. There's been 621 views on it. I mean, look,
that's good.
There's at least 3,000 people across the world that know you can say carcinogenic.
And 3,000 people that probably realize I have less hair now 3 years later, right? Or
I'm on the same boat.
I mean, I don't even know when was that video?
That was November. We taped that in November of 2017. So our older kids and everything. Yeah. So our older children that we have would have been in first grade, which now seems like a lifetime ago.
Got it. Let's talk about technology. What are you doing in terms of technology? Do you have any type of app where your operators can book their appointments? Like I have this Mind Body app that I can book for exercise classes or stretching or yoga or massage, whatever. What types of technology have come into the market that help your business?
Yeah, so we give them CRM stuff, to keep track of all their customer data and whatnot. A lot of them, some of them do use online scheduling. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of it, and that being like my schedule's changing all the time, so then I'd have to update the online schedule. And I'd also rather have the ability to talk to the client. I've always I always kind of like I don't have a chance to give you a rebuttal or kind of give you a reason why you should do it if you turn it down. If I'm not talking to you, I don't have any control over that. But a lot of our guys do use online scheduling, and they tell me that it works. So it's just because it's not my preference doesn't mean it's not a good idea. So yeah, I mean, I think there's not a lot of technology in this business. Once you build the website, if you build the website right and you do the back end stuff to that website, the search engine optimization and all that stuff that will come up in the Google algorithms, there's not a lot of ongoing technology. It should run itself.
And is there anything else that the franchisee is selling to the customer? Is it just the cleaning service for the 2 hours? Are they selling any parts? Are they selling any repair? They're not selling any food. I mean, it's not a whole barbecue world, right? It's just the cleaning. Or?
Well, no, some people are. Some people do repairs. Okay. They venture into that. Look, it's another great extension for a revenue stream. Some will do propane exchange. If you had a propane grill, particularly, I don't want to sound rude when I say this, but it's true. Elderly people hate having to take the thing out, carrying it. It's heavy.
How about younger people? I mean, it's a schlep. It's a pain.
Hey, I mean, we know I'm not the most physically
taking it to the grocery store.
Yeah, taking it to the thing. So, they'll do propane exchange. Okay. They'll do parts on occasion, as you mentioned. But I always tell people with regards to that, you can never lose sight of the fact that your main revenue stream is the cleaning. Everything is an extension off of that.
That's your bread and butter, right? That's what you focus on. So you focus on the bread and butter, and then you kind of it's like a hub and spoke. You kind of spoke off of it like a bicycle wheel, right? Yep. Like we talk about some of our friends that do, whether it's window washing or tick spray or things like that, right? You can always sell more to your existing customer, but always focus on that initial bread and butter, what you're there for, what pays the bills.
Right. And that's what gets you in the door to allow you to do the hub and the other stuff off the spoke model.
Very good. Now, as we kind of finish up a little bit, is this something that is more popular in warm weather areas around the country, or are you seeing this all over the country? And is this something that, women, minorities, anyone can really do, right? I mean, it's an opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, we have women operators, we have male operators, we have older people that are retired, and they tell me, although I shouldn't probably repeat this, that hey, I wanna do this to get away from my wife a few hours a day to go out there and clean some grills.
Makes sense.
We have younger people that get started in the business. I can think of actually, in fact, I can think of one of our coolest success stories was a 20-year-old kid out in Orange County, California, got started in 2010. He was a bellboy at the time for one of the fancy Marriott resorts out there.
Sure.
And the
JW.
dad, I don't know if it was a JW. I could get the name of it, but he was out in Orange County. And the father decided he was going to buy this business for the son to try and give him a path, out, because I guess a bellboy is not really a long-term
good tips
for
though.
him.
Good
Good tips. I'm sure out there in that market it is.
Yeah.
And now their business is, I mean, he's so backed up for months, and this is his 11th year. So, we have young people do it. We have older people. Cold versus warmer markets. I mean, look, it works everywhere. Look, I've been doing this 17 years, and there's white stuff all over the ground. So I'm a testament to it works in the cold markets. But one of the advantage that the warmer market people have over me is certainly they have more of a year-round.
Sure. So they can maybe get it cleaned 2-3 times a year instead of maybe once
or twice.
It's kind of like going to the dentist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to get it done.
You should probably do it more than once.
Yes. My kids, it's funny you mentioned that. My kids who they went to the dentist last week, and they reminded me that I was due for the dentist, which I am. And it's weird. I don't even know how they even knew that.
I think the dentist violated some HIPAA law.
I tell you. They sent something to their iPads to remind their parents.
All right. So, Jeff, will you stay with us? We'll talk a little football.
Sure.
Wow.
Yes.
I'd like to transition into that. And, of course, we posted if anyone wants to connect with Jeff, they should go to the Barbecue Cleaner on Instagram?
The easiest way, I think, our website, because then they can actually see you in your glory on the full video.
And the bbqcleaner.com?
The bbqcleaner.com.
Yeah, make sure you put the
www. You have it right there. www.thebbqcleaner.com.
So that's the best way to connect with Jeff if you're interested in getting involved in purchasing this or asking him questions about what's the best grill to purchase in Bergen County, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's switch gears, Jeff, to let's talk a little football. We got a big game coming up. You may have heard about it. It's called the Super Bowl. And although I thought it would be Rams versus Bills, I've been saying that for weeks. I was close. It's going to be Rams versus Bengals. And I was thinking the Rams because I thought it'd be so cool to have a home Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Those who remember last year, Tom Brady and the Bucs won the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. And a lot's happened since we've had the last episode of Get Up with Garrett because Tom Brady has retired. And the Giants have obviously hired a new GM and a new head coach, and there's an incredible big class action lawsuit out now. And the Super Bowl is coming next. It's not this weekend, in case you men are like, oh, shit, what do I do this weekend? It's football season. I had 16, 17 weeks. Now I got to do something. So please spend some time with your kids. Go out, have fun. And next weekend's the Super Bowl. Okay, so next weekend we've got the Bengals with JB9, Joe Burrow, Mr. Cool, Mr. Cigar, Mr. Joe. He's Joe Namath. He's Joe Montana. I mean, he's amazing.
That's a good comparison.
Right?
I like it.
And then going up against this Rams all-star team, right? That's been built, and they brought in Odell Beckham, who's really having a great year. I think he has scored 5 times the amount of touchdowns he had versus the last 2 years of the Browns, where he obviously really wasn't utilized his potential. The big trade for Matt Stafford. Cooper Kupp is just the Triple Crown winner. The guy catches touchdowns, yards. He's an incredible receiver. And of course, they brought in Von Miller and Darnold, and it's just they're quite an incredible team. But that same Rams organization got beat by a Tom Brady upstart Patriot team 20 years ago, where they were the greatest show on turf, and everyone thought it was Rams. So, what do you guys think? Is this the start of kind of the Bengals, who dat, who dis, it's us moment? Is
who
this
day? I think their quote is who day.
Or do you think the Rams are going to do it here, Jeff? What do you think?
Well, I'll take your first question first. They're all young, right? So for the Bengals, you're right. I mean, this is the beginning of. This is not going to be their only chance to be successful.
Chase is a rookie, right?
Chase is a rookie. Mixon had a very good year. Their running back. Burrow is obviously young. T. Higgins. I mean, he's been around the league, but obviously the year he's had, he's not just going to drop off. I think it's a very hard game to pick. I do like him. I mean, if you have listeners that are into the gambling aspect, I do like them.
Spread?
They're getting 4.5, but the Bengals are.
Ooh,
but here's so do I, because the Bengals are 7-0 against the spread the last 7 weeks. So that means, I mean, you're protected if it comes down to a field goal or whatnot.
Yes.
So I do like the Bengals with the points. But for the game, I think it's a pick 'em. I think it's very hard to pick. What do you think, Dougie?
So time out for 1 second, because I think the people at home, we talked a lot about the barbecue cleaner. I don't think they know the extent of your record of picking the wins.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's got like he's 16 and 5.
You kept track because we had to stop halfway. It was getting ugly.
We had
for our listeners.
We had a winning. So we do on Mind Your Pucking Business. We'll pick 5 games every week with the spread, and we ended up with last year we had a winning season. We were 10-7. This year with 18 weeks, we were 11-7.
Okay.
So
so if you listen to Jeff,
but that
you
means,
make money.
But that means that each week you got the majority.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's not just one game.
Plenty of losers though in each
right.
Plenty of losers.
But still, like if you would bet every game every week,
okay,
you'd be on a yacht somewhere in Greece right now.
Got it.
So just want to make sure the viewers at home knew, like you're written these stats, like what you're talking
He
about.
knows what he's talking about.
But but I do, like Garrett said, I think I like the Bengals with the points, but I think the game itself is very hard. That's why I'm surprised it's 4.5. I would have thought the spread would have been more like maybe 1 or 2.
I love the spread at 4.5. I love because you've had a lot of overtime games, you've had a very tight games, you've had a lot of like last man with the ball kind of wins games, and you think about that field goal. I mean, these days you do the kickoff, you get a penalty. Now it's at the 35 instead of the 25. I mean, you don't have to go very far. You saw Mahomes did it in 13 seconds, right? So I'm going to personally go with the Bengals getting the 4.5 here, but I do think the Rams win the game. And I think like they've come so far with this home field and putting together the All-Star team. And I just feel like in the end, some of the age and the youth of the Bengals could be an Achilles heel. I know about an Achilles heel. I had a full rupture of mine almost 10 years ago, but I'm back. No problem. So that's that. But this is one, man, that I just think that stadium's amazing. I think it's going to be a great show. I think the halftime show looks awesome. You've got this great group. I think it's Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, one or two other artists. I saw Snoop Dogg. I saw like a video that Pepsi put out, like a 2-minute video on LinkedIn. I literally had goosebumps. Like, it was, talk about marketing videos, and our friend Jordan, who does great marketing. I was just blown away by the story that showed, and I was like, I'm ready and hyped up.
Let me ask you a question as a Giant fan with the Super Bowl. Do you because Odell Beckham is in it? Obviously, he has got a history with the Giants. Do you like Odell? What's your viewpoint on Odell?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I would like to see Odell. I think he's done it right this year. And I've heard he's been a great teammate and been a good person out there. And I root for greatness. Okay. So, I grew up in the era of Michael Jordan like you did. And I was not a Bulls fan, but I look back and think about, man, am I lucky that I lived through Michael Jordan? Well, I also just lived through Tom Brady. Right. And so I'm admirable. And as a Giant fan, we beat Tom Brady twice. We're 2-0 in the Super Bowl. So I never had like an issue against the Patriots. Right. So I root for greatness. I love and admire and respect greatness. So I think Odell has a little bit of that in him. And I think, he was quite immature with the Giants and a lot of the shenanigans he did. But I think he was really, taken advantage of in Cleveland and not used the right way. And so I'm happy to see him kind of come out of his shell again. And I'm excited for Matthew Stafford. I mean, his wife went through, I think, a tremendous surgery. I read about it. There's a tremendous story there. And you watched him, and man, he just had dealt a cards of shit with Detroit for all those years.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so the fact that they went for it and the work ethic of Cooper Kupp, I think, is incredible. I mean, he runs a route like I've never seen before. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited. They got the young coach. What is he? 25 still?
He looks like he's 18.
He barely has any hair on his chin. This guy.
What is the official Garrett Bedrin plans for Super Bowl? Would you watch it at home? I mean, obviously you've got some, What are you doing?
It's not fancy this year. I think my wife invited my in-laws over.
Okay.
Right. Which means something good's coming, whether it's a great dessert by my mother-in-law or a great dip.
Or your wife. Your wife is a really good cook.
Of course. But if we were at their house, I think the spread would be better. I've had Super Bowl with my in-laws, and it's a good spread.
Okay.
But being that we've got 2 young dogs and we've got young kids and it's a late night, probably better to have it at our house. And hopefully we can check this COVID box now. And maybe after this next year, we can get back to Super Bowl parties.
Right.
And And there's a lot of fun bets going around. I mean, some of the things are getting ridiculous. Somebody showed me a pool where it was like, those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted me to spend $400 for a box. I almost fell off my chair.
What's the payout? 4,000?
Something, but I've never won any of those things. I'm like, I'm more like the $5 on Cooper Cup to have 100 yards.
You know what's amazing about the boxes? Last year in the town that I live in the town next to Garrett, I ran a Super Bowl box pool where people, it was $20 a box and everyone did it. And I had, thankfully, all week this week, I haven't had anybody ask me about it because I don't want to do it. But I was like, if one person
Ruben's
asks,
got one. Ruben will do it. He's got one going.
I'll do it. I'll do Ruben or Broker Bergs. I'm sure one of them will get me on.
So, Doug, so it sounds like Jeff's going to take the points, 4.5, right, with the Bengals. And do you have an official kind of?
So I think we're lucky because I'd be happy with either team winning, right? If it was the Chiefs Rams, I'm rooting Rams. You know what I mean? Like, you want the underdog.
Chiefs already,
I'm cheap of the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are the bad guy. You know what I mean? But like, you can be happy with any team that wins this. They're both kind of like underdogs. I think the Rams are going to take it because of defense wise. Like, they have like an all-star defense as well, and that's something that the Bengals are lacking. As much as I'm rooting for the Bengals, I think the Rams are going to take it.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to take it.
It should be. I agree with you. It should be a good game. It should, which is really in the Super Bowl. Unless you have a rooting interest, like the Giants are in it, you just want to have a good game. The Super Bowls where it's like 30 to 10 at halftime are not exciting.
We went through some of those years after the Giants. I think it was like in the 90s, maybe, and the Cowboys were. It's like 52 to 10. Who cares? Yeah. It's like it turned off. I mean, I will say. And I speak for all Giants and Jet fans when I say this. We are so thankful for the NFL playoffs because the last couple of weeks have literally wiped away. I have no memory of how bad the season was as a Giant fan because the playoffs were just off the charts.
What do you, as a Giant season ticket holder, and we talked about on Mind Your Pucking Business, by the way, when I went to the Giant game with you this year. About your
That's
seats.
Enough plugs, by the way.
No. I'm just saying we talked about it.
This is my podcast. You're there.
I know. But let me ask you this. You're a Giant season ticket holder, and you know the Giant. I want to ask you two questions.
I am a Giant season ticket holder.
The Giants,
and I doubled down during the worst time ever, too.
Yes, you did. The Giants right now have the unique position. So even with the Jets, that's how bad things are. They have 2 picks in the top 10 this year.
Yeah,
crazy. Right. Okay, so the first question is, what do you want them to address with those 2 picks? What positions? And then secondly, I want you to go on record, but as I know what you're going to say, on your thoughts on Daniel Jones, if he should be the starter.
So first of all, Giant fans know, and anybody in the industry knows, we need to work on our offensive line, right? You could put out the prettiest quarterback you want. You want to put out Joe Burrow. You want to put out Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Those guys would not shine behind the offensive line that the Giants have delivered. Dave Gettleman and his hog mollies did not get the job done, and that's why he's out the door. That's what happens, people. You got to get the job done. So I believe that Joe Schoen's going to be looking at drafting big offensive linemen, young guys, really build that foundation. And I really feel in my heart of hearts, and that's why I feel they went with Brian Daboll, they think Danny Jones is the future here. And I've been saying that for years, that Danny Jones is the guy. And I think this is an offensive-minded league, right, where the penalties come for pass interference pretty quick now. And you got to have a quarterback like you saw Josh Allen run the ball incredibly. You saw Patrick Mahomes this season, especially during the playoffs. And I think the Giants are going to do that. I really do. I think they're going to start building up their offensive line, and then they're going to start looking for some pass rushers also. They're going to probably work on Saquon Barkley a little bit and how they use him. But I really think they're going to give Danny Jones a shot. And I think cap-wise, it doesn't make sense to cut him anyway. You might as well give him a shot. He clearly is way better than the other 2 knuckleheads they threw out there at the end of the year. So, I mean, at a minimum, he's your backup quarterback if you go and you draft the next year a young quarterback. I don't think there's a game-changing, unless I'm wrong, I don't think there's a game-changing quarterback this draft anyway.
No, there isn't. Yeah, one more question for you because you know this stuff. And so the other day, I took Tyler to the Ranger game over the weekend. It was my first time in Madison Square Garden in 3 years with everything going on.
Yes.
And it still was like, I had to.
It was weird, right?
It was weird. But I noticed that the concessions in the 3 years have been upgraded. I mean, you can now get like
really good
honey
stuff,
hot fried chicken sandwiches. I mean, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
MetLife, when I went with you, the one thing I ate that day was the cookie dough stand outside the section.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like mesmerized how sporting like venues
have changed
the concessions.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that kind of goes back to my old career, where I started in sport management and worked for 3 professional teams. I mean, this is in New York specifically. I think this was a market where the ball was dropped on the value of the concessions over the years. Like if you go out to San Francisco, they had the most incredible garlic fries. When you went out to Baltimore, they had incredible crab cakes and crab cake sandwiches. So other venues, other parts of the country have been pushing more upgraded food, but this all comes down to revenue share, right? So in certain leagues, certain amounts of revenue are shared on the ticket price, right? And teams cannot get around that. It is what it is. But when you put the dollars into the concessions or into the luxury suites or into the club seats, the food part is either not shared or shared less. So they try to go with that value add experience. So that's why you're seeing concessions take a rise up, because the teams are going to get a bigger share of that. Also, there's great margins in that stuff, right? Like my wife, Jessica, loves to buy the $18, ice cream because it comes with a cute little Giants helmet, right? Well, she's getting, obviously she doesn't really care about the helmet, but when you're a kid and you're like, oh, I get the free helmet,
right,
that's the free value add, which costs 10 cents, right? But you're not thinking about it at that moment. But MetLife, I will tell you, I hear from a lot of friends and season ticket holders, really, unless you're sitting in the club areas and in the suites, it's not an overly impressive concession experience. I mean, I know you're giving props to something that you saw, but compared to other stadiums around the country, in the average regular ticket price seating, kind of Joe fan, they're not getting a huge upgraded concession product at MetLife.
Let me ask you a question, a business question, sports.
Whose show is this, Doug?
Tie this in.
Interviewing me.
I pressed the buttons here.
I'm not interviewing him. I want his insight. It's his show. He's got the insight. He's going to know this. So inflation right now is bad. I'm a season ticket holder for the Rangers and Knicks. Do you think that with inflation, the teams are now going to even jack up the prices even more? I mean, it's getting hard. It's getting hard to go to a game.
Yeah,
it's also hard to resell them as a season ticket holder.
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to ask in the Giants because I happen to sit in an area where I'm like bordering a price increase, and you always want to look for that. And that's from my experience with the Warriors. Like when I would sell tickets, I would say, hey, why don't you buy in this section, this row, because you're one section over from a ticket that's 30% higher, right? So it's a good value. So my Giants tickets are very fairly priced. I think they're like $140, $150. I mean, how do you beat that?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the section next to me could be $300 or $700, which is ridiculous. So I think because the product's been so poor for the Giants and Jets, they really don't have much to stand on in raising prices going into this year. But they'll probably find other ways to do it, right? So maybe your parking goes up $2 or $5, or some of your concessions go up higher. They'll find a way. Yeah. I don't think it'll be, Jeff, on the tickets. But I haven't like watched the merchandise pricing because my man Doug here just gave me a big Hanukkah gift full of Giants merchandise. So thankfully I don't have to watch the pricing. But I would venture to guess a lot of that stuff has gone up because you're getting it from overseas and there's delays in shipping and whatnot. And I'm sure you probably had some supply chain challenges throughout the last couple of years. Still do. So I want to take Jeff to our lightning round so we can close down the show.
Yeah.
Is that still an audio file you have available?
Absolutely. I'm ready when you are.
I'm a little nervous.
Yes. Jeff, these are the same questions we ask all our guests at the Get Up with Garrett show. And I want you to just come up with the first thing that pops to your head. Okay. You can't even see it. It's not on Doug's computer, so there's no cheating.
You can't cheat.
You just kind of take it lightly, have fun with it. And if you could always say pass if you have to. Okay. I won't be mad.
Okay, got it.
All right. Dougie, are you ready? Okay.
Ready.
Jeff, what's a business book, a favorite business book you'd recommend to an up and coming entrepreneur?
Cash Flow Quadrant.
Oh, okay. That's a Robert Kiyosaki?
Yes. Best book, changed my life. My dad recommended it to me.
Great. I love my vanity plates, right? You follow my Instagram. If you had to have a vanity plate, any idea what it would be on your car?
Abby Tyler.
Oh, okay. Now, you've been following some of the space travel. I know you travel a lot to open up new barbecue locations, and maybe one day there'll be a location in space. Who would you trust right now? If I was going to go with you, we'll go together. The wives are on board. Is it Elon Musk? Is it Jeff Bezos? Or is it Richard Branson? Who's going to take us up there?
Branson.
Okay. And I don't know if you ever watched Ted Lasso.
Yes.
First concert, last concert. I'm sorry, first concert, best concert.
First concert I ever went to was Chicago at PNC in 1997. Best concert is the only other concerts I ever go to is Dave Matthews Band, who coincidentally just announced their summer tour.
Are you sure it's not music for Aardvarks for Sean and Pat?
I'll have to think about it. Let's pass on that.
Okay. Last question, Jeff. What's a goal you want me to remind you of a year from now?
Work on lead generation.
Perfect. That's it. He killed
That was
Nicely
scary.
done.
That was scary though.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the music?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't mess
All
around.
the appeal. My goodness.
It's ticking. So everyone, I want to be so thankful and grateful for bring in a great friend, Jeff Krensman from the Barbecue Cleaner. If you're thinking about looking at a business that you can be out of the office and you can kind of make your own schedule, please feel free to check out right down below here, barbecue cleaner. The barbecuecleaner.com. Send Jeff a message. And if you're thinking about having your barbecue cleaned, reach out to Jeff. Tell him Garrett sent you. All right?
The Garrett discount.
For the VIP Garrett discount. And like always, any questions, comments, you can always email us. Dougie, bring it up, please. The getupwithgarrett@gmail.com, or reach out to me at the Garrett Graham on Instagram or LinkedIn, right? I answer all my own tweets and email. I'm not, I don't got a whole staff that does it for me. It's just me, guys. And look forward to seeing you back in 2 weeks on our next show. And hopefully you learned something today.
Right? Very good. Thanks for having me,
Jeff.
Great show as always.
Play us out, Dougie.
Oh, yeah.